Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center. Very excited today to be coming to you from Wadsworth Falls. That was a tongue twister right there. Words are tough sometimes. But we are here at Wadsworth Falls State Park. This is in Middlefield, the Rock Falls section of Middlefield and Middletown. So this river is the border between the two. So here we are. There's you can hear the water flowing behind me. Now, like many waterways in Connecticut during the Industrial Revolution, there were factories. Actually, way prior to the Industrial Revolution, water was the power. And you can see here's a sluiceway here. I'm going to flip the camera so I can show you a little bit better here. Now, there is a lot of graffiti here at the park, which is unfortunate. They do try and clean this up, but it's an ongoing process. So if we look here, there's a sluiceway under the bridge was put in here. It's a much more modern bridge, but it covers up the old part of a foundation and part of a sluiceway. So there was a textile mill here and a gunpowder manufacturing plant. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Right now, I want to show you the first tree that we're going to be looking at. Now, hop hornbeam and elm trees are kind of tough to tell apart. Leaves are very similar. The elm tree has sandpaper-like bark and a lopsided leaf. So if you see this side, and I believe it's always the right side, extends further down than the left side. Now, usually when I find an elm, it's a lot more lopsided, so it's easier to tell, but I'm pretty sure that this is an elm, not a hop hornbeam, or ironwood is the other word for hop hornbeam, very hard wood. The hop hornbeam is a lower story tree. It doesn't get the big giant tree like an elm. Now in Connecticut, because of Dutch elm disease, our elm trees usually don't make it to be fully adult mature elm trees. We do have small elm trees growing across Connecticut, but they usually don't make it to be a full-grown elm. All right, let's head out from this area here. Now there are two parking areas here at Wadsworth Falls, and this is the second one, the one by the larger of the two falls, and the other one is at the swimming area of the falls. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for watching the programs, and I'm going to ask you, if you have a question or a comment, to please put up where you're messaging from. Always like to see that. Is that British Columbia, Canada? Cool. And Uncasville, that's my mom again. Okay, so we're at Wadsworth Falls State Park. The state park was named for Clarence Wadsworth, and we'll learn more about him as we go. But this area here, there's a part of a foundation. This is the most visible part over here, but there are a couple of other areas on the other side. And this was, again, one of the locations of one of the plants that was here, either a textile mill or a gunpowder manufacturing mill. Now you can see that this area was developed because there's a lot of these invasive plants. This is burning bush. Many of you love burning bush. Many of you have it in your yards. It is an invasive species. This entire area here is filled with burning bush. It's a beautiful tree in the fall. It's just starting to get, you can see this leaf here. It will turn this brilliant red color, which is beautiful, but it is not a good plant to have. Again, not native, so our native species don't get to eat it. It's not nutritional for them, or as nutritional as natives, I should say. And as we go into this little forested area, back down to the brook, this is all burning bush in here. So it is completely taken over. This entire bank of the brook is taken over by burning bush. So we don't really like that very much. All right, let's go down. You can take another look now we are in a pretty drought time right now here in Connecticut, so the brook is not flowing the way it would normally be flowing. We're going to go this way. So I want to show you, there's a few things over here we're going to look at. Right here, we have some poison ivy. It is an old poison ivy. I doubt it still has its usual oil in it, but I'm still not going to touch it. But when poison ivy gets this really thick vine climbing a tree, it's going to have these very hairy, hair-like roots. So that's, and then below here we've got another invasive. Let's angle the camera here. This is Japanese barberry, another invasive. Very prickly. You don't want to walk into this. I remember as a kid, my cousin and I were walking through this and felt the prickling. I just stabbed myself with it. The prickling of the thorns. And it turns out that there was also a bee's nest in it. And we were being stung by bees, and we thought it was just thorns. So that was not a good time. All right. Again, the beautiful brook. I'm seeing a lot of insects in the brook. There's some water striders, which are not spiders. Everybody always calls them water spiders. They only have 6 legs, so they're an insect, not a spider. But I want to come over here. So I talked a little bit about hop hornbeam, which that one was not a hop hornbeam, it was an elm. But here we have a hornbeam, or musselwood. And you can see why it's called musselwood. That looks like muscle. This is another hard, dense tree, not a highest story tree. This is a mid-range tree, again, 30 feet or so. Also called a blue beech. If you remember the American beech from some of my other programs, it also has smooth bark like this, but it doesn't have these nice ridges that give it the musselwood appearance of this tree. Where is burning bush from? I see them in yards in southern Michigan. Burning bush is Eurasia. I think it's primarily Asia, but right over into a little bit of the eastern part of Europe as well. All right, here we've got another blue beech. Beautiful trees, and again, like the American beech, people do carve in them. I don't really like that. I'm going to ask people, please don't carve in. Oh, there's some poison ivy down there. 3 leaves growing together. The usual oil will get you any time of the year. So just because it looks dried out and doesn't look oily doesn't mean you're not going to get poison ivy. And you can lose your immunity over time as well. So let's take a close look here. This is a good example of the burning bush stem. It gets these nice little ridges along here, which makes it a little bit easier to identify when it's not turning that beautiful red color. Now, I do say it's beautiful. Invasive species can be beautiful, and that's how a lot of them ended up here, is that they were a beautiful ornamental. So they were planted all over the country. And our DOT used to plant them along the highways. So everybody can be at fault when it comes to why do we have invasive species. And at the time, we didn't really know. So I wouldn't say anyone's at fault, really. That's just what happened. All right, so we are at the larger falls. We're at the upper part of the large falls, the top of the large falls here. And you can see not a lot of water flowing over, but it's still a beautiful falls. And take a look at that gouged out side over there. It's absolutely beautiful how that's all carved in. And that's going to be the water has done that over hundreds of years, over 1,000 years it takes to carve away that water like that. So this is a good time to tell you a little bit about the gunpowder mill, which was here. from 1794 to 1892, and it literally blew up. That's why they don't have a gunpowder mill here any longer, because it blew up in 1892. The textile mills were here also, and there were sluiceways along the sides of this falls to provide water. Now, at one point, they were going to put a gunpowder manufacturing plant at Meigs Point, at Hammonasset, but they found there wasn't enough fresh water. So you do need fresh water for the production and manufacture of gunpowder, which is something I learned from being at Meigs Point. You can see there's some of our maintenance crews up there working on the parking lot, putting in some nice new gates up there. Now, I'm going to say right now, Connecticut state parks are fantastic places to visit. Unfortunately, this park really is getting full on the weekends. As we get later into the fall, I'm sure it'll open up a little bit more, but they've had to close this one, this parking area, many times on the weekends. So if you arrive at a park and it is closed, please find another park. There are plenty of parks across Connecticut. Don't go and park in somebody's driveway or a local business, or I guess they're telling me that there are places around here where people go and park. It's not a good idea. We really want to leave these places the way they should be. And there's good reasons why we have the rules that we have. All right, there's some people down there at the lower part of the falls, so we're going to go. Oh, so right here, let me step off of it. That's part of the foundation there of one of the mills. You can see it go along there. And it goes all the way along here. We are at Wadsworth Falls State Park. I see a question asking if I'm at Hammonasset, but currently I am not at Hammonasset. All right, we're gonna go. So that is part of one of the mills, and I'm not sure whether that's the textile mill or the gunpowder mill. Now we can take a look down here. We can see the beautiful carved out portion. I don't know if you guys are getting that sun blur that I'm getting on my camera. So again, normally this would have a lot more water flowing over it. We're at a low water area level right now, so it's not flowing. This is not a swimming area, so we do have to remind people of that very often. People do want to swim in this little pool. I don't know that it's ever deep enough to really swim in it, but people do try and swim in it. Now I want to show you the water striders. There's a whole herd of them down here. I don't know what you would call a swarm of water striders, I guess. They're heading over this way. So let's follow them. Now that I'm getting a closer look, I'm not sure these are water striders. These might be whirligigs, which is a beetle that swirls around on the water. They're moving so fast I can't tell. Whoop. Camera didn't like me turning like that there. Yeah, I'm thinking these are whirligigs, not water striders. The water strider gets a little stripe, and I see a little stripe there, but I don't think. And here's another group of insects cruising around in the water. Not sure if you can, these are much smaller. It's really cool. These shallows are great for aquatic insects. All right, we're going to cross over this rocky area. Take a look at this rock here. It's got some concrete attached to it and some holes. So this was definitely part of one of the mills. Let's show you the falls again. The sun is going to block that, I bet. Maybe if I move over here, I can get into the shade. Let's hope I don't fall in the river here. How beautiful is this? That is Wadsworth Falls. All right. And there's some people that have gone past where they're supposed to be up there. Someone says 4 outstretched legs. So if you saw 4 outstretched legs, then those are water striders. But they were moving too fast for me to see that without a pair of glasses on, I guess. Okay, there's a bit of a trail over here, so we're gonna go downstream. Now I mentioned there's a swimming area at the other end. There's another parking lot, and most of the trails lead off of that swimming area. I believe we run into a dead end. It looked like somebody. This is something we do not encourage in state parks, is having campfires outside of designated camping areas. We ask you, please do not do things like this. This could lead, especially this time of year when we are in higher fire danger with the dry and the high winds that we can get at this time of year. I'm going to try and get one of our fire crew on to talk about fire prevention and maybe talk about some of the methods we use for fire suppression when we're trying to put out a fire. So I'm not sure if this is a designated trail or not. Lots of people have used it. It looks like a trail. But it's also pretty steep. So here's our American beach. Remember, smooth bark, which people like to carve in, unfortunately, but that's similar to that bark of the blue beech or the musselwood or the hornbeam. You know, fishermen always say, oh, it's really confusing because different parts of the country, there are different names for fish. Trees are the same way, depending on where you are. All right. Now, as much as I would like to sit by the falls for hours, just listen to them, it's kind of like sitting by a campsite. Ooh, look at that gray squirrel. Hello, my cousin Brad is on. So as much as I enjoy listening to the falls, it's like sitting by a campfire. We need to look at other things right now. Not a very good view of the falls from up here. But we're gonna go in this direction. This looks much more like an official trail, but I haven't seen any blazes yet. You really want to look out for those blazes on the trails to make sure you're in the right place. And we have a fork in the road, and I'm not seeing blazes. However, this log was cut here, so I'm going to guess that this is the way they want people to go. I have visited this park before, but we've done programs down by the beach and the Lower Falls area, so I've never, this is my first time, unless my mom brought me here as a kid, and I don't remember the upper falls, the bigger falls. But my first time at this end of the park. There's some big tree down up here. Let's do, what does blaze mean? Great question. I should have explained that. Blazes are trail markers. So usually a trail marker, this is a perfect tree to show you. This would be a great tree for a blaze. It would be about eye level for most people. So between 5 and 6 feet high, you would mark on each side of the tree. And typically on a trail, we'll do a whole program on trail etiquette and blazes and things. But typically from one blaze, when you step past it, there should be another blaze in eyesight. So maybe not the next tree, but down the trail a little bit. You shouldn't have to go very far to see the next blaze. Now look at this. This tree here came down. This looks pretty recent, probably why they haven't cleared it away yet. But that tree came down, pushed that tree, that one over there. This one got pushed over, and then this one got hit. Looks like it took the other one down as well. It broke that one right off. So I'm gonna have to crawl under these. Yeah, this is always fun. All right. So let's continue down. There's a lot of snags and tangles of downed branches. There's a good, nice view of the brook up here. That's cool. It widens. It still looks really shallow, but it widens up here. Oh, my mom's saying that we never visited Wadsworth Falls. So, learn something new. I don't remember. We visited lots of parks and historic sites, so I do not remember them all. Let's take a look at this. We have here, this tree came down. Its roots were not strong enough, so there are a few reasons that something like this can happen. It's always possible that it got some disease or fungus that ate the roots and made them weaker, so the tree wasn't able to support the weight of the tree. Could also be that the ground got soft, either through moisture or sometimes when people dig too close, which probably not the case over here. But then the other thing is the roots just aren't able to go deep enough, something in the ground, maybe rocks or something, and the tree gets so big it can't support the weight anymore, so it comes down. Can you explain how they indicate take a left or right? I just went hiking and the group had never heard of that. I'm not sure what you mean by take a right or a left on a trail. Typically it's going to change color as you're going and you come to a fork, you're going to stay on whatever color you were on. But if you could clarify a little bit what you mean by take a right or a left. All right, here we've got another fork. This one goes down the hill. This one goes along the top of the hill. And again, because I've never been here and I'm not seeing any blazes, this trail looks larger and more well-worn. So we're going to take this trail. It's, that's a really steep trail. Let's hope it doesn't get. So that's another sign you want to look for. Typically, they're not going to run a trail on the really steep ground. So, not sure. Well, here's something we can talk about. As I'm walking along here, I'm noticing acorns. And not whole acorns. These are pieces of acorns. So the oak trees that are above me are being eaten by our friendly squirrels. And then they drop the little bits down below. And sometimes we'll find a log or a stump where they sit on it and eat them as well. So just like birds typically go back to the same place to eat, squirrels will do that a little bit as well. They won't eat over the entire tree. They'll pick a nut and move to a comfortable place to eat their nuts. And they are rolly when I step on them. All right, hey look, there's my shadow. I'm following my shadow right now. Okay. Do we have any questions? So the blazes, I think you're talking about when they put a direction arrow. There's another spot where a squirrel has eaten. When they put a direction arrow with the blaze, you don't see that very often because, again, when the trail forks, it's usually another color trail going off. But if they were marking this and they wanted you to take a right, there would be it's like a greater and less than sign. Sending you in the direction that they want that trail to go. But very often, you're just staying on the blue trail. This is a beautiful little spot. Some trees here, again, too close to the water. Roots weren't able to stay in. There's 3 of them down right there. And more as you look further up the bank. Camera, go look up the bank. There we go. So, let's continue along. So Clarence Wadsworth is who the park is named for. He was a colonel in the National Guard. He was a linguist. Apparently he had money because he had a lot of land in this area. And he created the Rockfall Foundation. So I mentioned earlier that Rockfall is part of Middlefield. And he created the Rockfall Foundation to continue his wishes. He actually started just before he died and left instructions for them. But the year after he died, which was 1941. So here's another mill or factory coming up here. And he died in 1941, and the Rockfall Foundation turned the 267 acres of the park over to the state of Connecticut the year after he died, and then it became a state park. Can you tell what types of trees they are by looking at the bark or the leaves. So typically, yes, you can tell. There are some that are difficult to tell. So there's a big, giant, dead, looks like a white pine, but it is very dead, and the bark has been picked apart by woodpeckers. Look at the damage that they've done on this tree. All right, looking at the bark, it's not a white pine. That looks like a big, giant hemlock. Well, on the ground, it looks like somebody has spread out wood chips, but that's from the woodpeckers pecking the bark off. So yeah, like the beech, you can tell, this is the American beech, you can tell the bark. It's pretty distinctive, very smooth gray bark. The leaves are pretty distinctive as well, just a simple leaf. Also in the winter, this leaf will turn orange and stay on the tree. Won't drop off until next spring when the tree starts budding again. So that's an easy way to tell that tree. And I plan on continuing these programs. Even if the Nature Center opens, we will continue to do these programs. Here we're at another fork. It looks like this, that heads back up the hill there. And looking ahead, it looks like this trail is wider, so we're going to stick with this one. I do plan on continuing these programs, even if the Nature Center is able to reopen. We'll keep doing them. So I will be doing Trees in the Winter program, where we're just identifying the trees by the bark. All right, I'm seeing some damage on this tree down here, which I would like to investigate and see if this is beaver or people with an axe. It is old. It's already begun to heal. Let's see. Can we show you guys? There we go. And I'm gonna. There was a beaver here. You can see that. Going away at the bark here, at the not the bark, the trunk of the tree. It has started to heal and curl over. Old. It's really cool. So someone is saying, my home state of Missouri has wonderful state parks and one of the best conservation departments in the country. That's awesome. I have visited Missouri, but again, I did that as a kid. I don't remember a whole lot about Missouri. I think that's one of the things I'm going to do when I retire, is start driving around the country again and visiting all of these really cool places. All right, so here we've got, looks like that mill has been converted into something else. I don't know whether those are condos or a house. I mean, some sort of shop. But here we've got another mill dam for that mill over there. Let's see what we've got over here. So that trail doesn't look very established. We're going to go this way. Let's see. I'm gonna try and find another tree I can. This looks like a black birch here. The bark is not as smooth as it usually is, but there's a lot of lichen growing on it, a lot of moss and lichen. And looking up, it does look like a black birch. So you can also tell some trees, oh, camera didn't like that. Hold on a second. There we go. You can also tell certain trees by their shape. Like the pin oak has a very arrow shape to it. Some trees are much rounder. Some trees are shape. If you stand back, if they're growing out in a field and you can stand back and just look at the overall shape, it tells you a lot. Oh. This, I'm not sure if I'm in the place I want to be right now. So the trail does cross the railroad track. I would think there would be some sort of signage. Show you guys the railroad. You can look in this direction. It looks like this track is used. There is some wear on it, and there's also, I don't know if you can see it, but there are animal tracks here. Looks like a raccoon stepped right on the track. I hear a chipmunk making a racket over there. So you can see this is worn. So trains definitely use this track. We're going to go over here and take a look. I do like to get lost once in a while. I'm not lost right now. I know exactly how to get back, but sometimes it's fun to get lost out on these trails. There's a very unusual track. Somebody has some interesting boots that has gone up this track hill before me. You know what? I bet those are Tevas sandals, not boots. All right. Well, Wadsworth Falls is an absolutely beautiful state park. Again, 267 acres to hike. The parking lots are small and it is filling up on the weekends, so I'm going to encourage you to come here during the week and find a more secluded spot to go on the weekends. And that's the same for any of our state parks. We want you to visit them, but we don't want to overflow the parks. We want to maintain social distance. We want to take care of them. At this park, there are no facilities for trash, so we ask people to take out whatever you bring in. So I'm going to remind everyone that's always a good thing to do. Not all who wander are lost. Now, that's a very common saying that people say about me all the time. So, again, no Connecticut state resident is more than 15 minutes from a state park. I say that often, and it's worth repeating because there are so many beautiful state parks. I mean, if you just look at this little culvert valley thing we have going here, this little wash, is just beautiful. Almost everywhere you turn in any of our state parks, there's a photo opportunity. I've always said, Hammonasset, every view is a photo op or a painting The same is true, though, in any of our state parks all over Connecticut. It's just beautiful. You don't have to go to New Hampshire or Vermont or Maine like I did this weekend. These are beautiful places to visit. Okay, I'm going to remind everyone to please continue to watch these programs every Tuesday through Friday at 11 o'clock. Hopefully tomorrow we have our special guest, Christine Cohen, who is our state senator and co-chair of the Environmental Committee. Hopefully she will be able to come on and we can talk about some of the upcoming legislative action that you can all be part of. If you want to support our environment, there are ways you can do it by reaching out to your local representatives, and we'll talk with her about that if she's able to come on. If not, we're going to reschedule her for sometime in October, but we will definitely plan on having her on. That's tomorrow at 12. So if I'm not on at 11, you'll know that she's able to be on. If I'm on at 11, then we know that I wasn't able to get her tomorrow, but we will try and get her on later. If you miss one of these programs on Facebook Live, you can watch them on our YouTube channel, the Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. You can go to our website, meigspointnaturecenter.org, and go to the Virtual Learning Center. There's lots of other things on there aside from just the videos. So I love the vocabulary words. I have some great volunteers that are always adding to the content that we have up there. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. And until tomorrow, I'm going to sign off. Let's just take a second and see if we have any questions. Beautiful state park. Yes, it is. It is gorgeous here. Kent Falls. I've got to get up there and visit Kent Falls. So trains are on the tracks almost twice a day. Good to know. Such a nice day today. Yes, it is. Thank you, Bridget. Drop breadcrumbs to find your way back. I'm not worried about that. Not too many trails to get back to where I was. All right, not seeing any questions right now. So until tomorrow, again, at 11 if we don't have Christine Cohen, at 12 if we do have Christine Cohen. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please continue to watch our programs. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. When we get that, I'll be doing YouTube Live as well. So until tomorrow, this is Ranger Russ signing off from Wadsworth Falls State Park.